Have you ever heard the saying, money can't buy happiness? That's a bit of a cliche, I know, but there's a deep truth to it. And it's perfectly captured in a classic old story about a man we'll call the miser. This isn't just a story about money. It's a story about value, about what we own, and more importantly, what owns us. So picture this guy. He's worked his entire life pinching every penny, denying himself every little pleasure, all to amass a huge pile of gold coins. He's incredibly proud of his wealth, but he's also terrified someone might steal it. So instead of putting it in a bank or investing it, he does something peculiar. He takes his entire fortune, all these shiny gold coins, puts them in a heavy chest, and buries it in a secret spot in his garden. Now you might think, okay, that's a bit extreme, but maybe he feels it's safer there. But here's the twist. Every single day, without fail, rain or shine, the miser would go out to this secret spot. He'd look around to make sure no one was watching, and then he'd start digging. He'd haul the heavy chest out of the hole, open it up, and just look at his gold. He wasn't spending it. He wasn't even planning to spend it. He just had to see it. He'd run his fingers through the coins, maybe stack them up, count them one by one, just to reassure himself that it was all still there. Then, he'd lock the chest, lower it back into the hole, cover it with dirt, and go back inside, his heart at ease for another day. This was his ritual, his entire purpose. This daily routine went on for years. The digging, the counting, the reburying. It was the most important part of his day. But he wasn't as sneaky as he thought. A thief, living nearby, had been watching him for weeks. At first, the thief was confused. What was this old man doing in the garden every day? But after observing the same strange ritual over and over, the thief put two and two together. He must have buried a treasure, he thought to himself. And if he digs it up every day just to look at it, he clearly doesn't need it for anything. So one dark, moonless night, when the miser was sound asleep, the thief crept into the garden. He knew exactly where to dig. With a shovel and a bit of effort, he unearthed the heavy chest. He didn't even bother to count the coins. He just lifted the whole thing onto his shoulder and disappeared into the night, leaving behind an empty hole. The next morning, the miser woke up, had his meager breakfast, and headed out to the garden for his daily ritual. He walked to his secret spot, shovel in hand, ready to greet his beloved treasure. But when he got there, his heart stopped. The ground was disturbed. Frantically, he started digging, his hands clawing at the loose soil, and then he saw it. The hole was empty, the chest, the gold, his life's work, it was all gone. A sound of pure anguish escaped his lips. He let out a wail of despair that echoed through the neighborhood. He was completely devastated. He tore at his hair, beat his chest, and collapsed on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. He was grieving as if he had lost a child. His whole world had crumbled. Just then, a neighbor was walking by and heard the terrible cries. Concerned, he rushed over to the fence. "What's wrong? What's happened?" he asked, genuinely worried. The miser could barely speak through his sobs. "My gold! Oh, my gold!" he cried out, pointing a trembling finger at the empty hole. "Someone has stolen it. I've been robbed. I'm ruined." The neighbor peered into the hole, confused. "Your gold? You kept your gold in a hole in the ground?" he asked. "But why? Why didn't you keep it in your house? At least there you could get to it easily if you needed to buy food or clothes or anything else." The miser looked up, his face a mask of fury and grief. "Buy?" He screamed as if the neighbor had suggested the most absurd thing in the world. "Buy things? I would never do that. I never touched the gold. I never spent a single coin. The thought of spending it was unbearable. I just needed to know it was there." The neighbor stood there for a moment, silently taking this all in. He looked at the weeping miser, then at the empty hole. He understood completely. He then bent down, picked up a large, heavy stone from the path, and tossed it into the empty hole with a dull thud. "Whoa," the neighbor said calmly. "If that's the case, then just cover up that stone. Every day you can come out here and imagine it's your gold. It's worth exactly the same to you as the treasure you lost." And with that, he turned and walked away. The miser was left speechless, staring at the stone in the hole. And in that moment, the profound and simple truth of the neighbor's words hit him. The gold, when it was buried and unused, was no more valuable to his life than that worthless stone. He had been the guardian of a treasure he never used, a master of wealth that gave him no benefit. He owned the gold, but its potential, its power, was completely wasted. This story is so powerful because it forces us to ask ourselves a really important question. What is the true value of the things we possess? We live in a world that tells us to accumulate more. More money, more stuff, more followers, more everything. We work so hard to get these things, and sometimes we become like the miser. We get so focused on having them, on protecting them, that we forget to actually use them. Think about it. What's the point of having a library of books if you never read them? What's the good of owning a fancy camera if it just gathers dust on a shelf? What is the value of having money in the bank if you're too afraid to spend it on experiences, on helping others, or on making your life, and the lives of those around you, better? The real worth of anything, whether it's money, a skill, knowledge, or even love, comes from its circulation. It comes from the use we make of it. Money is a tool. It's meant to be used to build a life, to create opportunities, to experience joy, and to make a positive impact. When it's just hoarded in a hole, it's no better than a rock. It has potential, but without action, that potential means nothing. This isn't about being reckless with your resources. It's about being intentional. It's about understanding that possession is not the end goal. The goal is to use what you have to live a richer, fuller, more meaningful life. Don't be a miser with your own life. Don't bury your talents, your passions, or your resources in a hole in the ground. Use them. Share them. Invest them in yourself and in the world. Because a possession, no matter how precious, is truly worthless until you put it to use. That is its true value. So take a look at your own gold. What are you holding on to that you could be using to enrich your life right now? Maybe it's time to dig it up and finally spend it. Thanks so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, give this video a like and subscribe for more content that makes you think. See you in the next one.